The death penalty is legal in 30 states, which means that it's only illegal in 20 states. Isn't that crazy? Since 1967, 1,510 people have been murdered by the law. Don't you wonder how many of those people were wrongly convicted? Deathpenaltyinfo.org says the death penalty carries the inherent risk of executing an innocent person. Since 1973, more than 165 people had been wrongly convicted and sentenced to death in the U.S. and have been exonerated. I've done research on the death penalty and I looked at both sides, so I'm reliable. Since many people agree with the death penalty, I'd like to consider the morals, how it's hypocritical, and the pros and cons to life without parole. First, I'd like to discuss the punishment side of the death penalty and the morals. Some people, like Joseph M. Bessett, on the opposing side from deathpenalty.procon.org, says the death penalty is the only punishment worthy for murderers and people with heinous crimes. Other people also talk about how disposing of the criminals help bring comfort to the victim's family. My view states that we are not the ones who should decide who is worthy of living and who is not. Our moral compass should not be okay with killing people. Now that you've heard both sides to whether or not the death penalty is moral or not, let's discuss the law side of the punishment. The 8th Amendment states, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. The opposing view, or more specifically the Bays v. Rees document, says, simply because an execution method may result in pain, either by accident or as an inescapable consequence of death, does not establish a sort of objectively intolerable risk of harm that qualifies as cruel and unusual. Let me put that in simpler terms. They think that just because people are, lethal injection, just because people get poked by the needle or just because they're scared of dying does not fall under cruel and unusual punishment. My view does agree that yes, making people sit on death row for years and years waiting their inevitable death is cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, could you just imagine just sitting on death row forever, just waiting until your last day, not really being able to do anything? Now that you know how the death penalty relates to the 8th Amendment, let's talk about the pros and cons of life without parole. When the death penalty isn't allowed, life without parole is the next option. The opposing view states that the punishment should fit the crime. On bartleybay.com it says, if a person breaks the law and commits murder, then they should be given the same treatment and be put to death by the means of the death penalty. If this were true, then if someone were to burn down my family's house, and we should give them the same punishment, then I should go to their family's house and burn their house down. But that is outrageous, and that would just not be good. I found an article that explains my side perfectly on procon.org. It says, the death penalty costs more, delivers less, and puts innocent lives at risk. Life without parole provides a swift, severe, and certain punishment. Life without parole lets those criminals live with what they've done, and if you think that their crimes are so bad that they should die for them, why should they get off so easy? Let's recap. The opposing view thinks that murderers who commit heinous crimes should die to help the victim's family grieve. I disagree and ask, why should we get to decide who is worthy of living and who's not? Next, the opposing view tried to looking for loopholes in the Constitution. My side understands the death penalty violates the 8th Amendment. And finally, the pro-death penalty states that punishment should fit the crime. Again, I disagree and think that life without parole is a better option. I couldn't begin to understand how it would feel to lose someone to the hands of a brutal murderer, but it still doesn't give us the right to decide who should live and who should not. Thank you.